We're going to sell this house soon and move into a high-rise apartment, so you better start looking for a new place to live,"
my mom said with a sneer.
Don't even think you'll get a dime of Dad's inheritance. You're going to renounce your claim to it. You got that?
My sister approached me with a terrifying look. Beside her, her boyfriend was laughing. This is too cruel. Dad's funeral just ended, and yet they can say such things. You guys are the worst. I can't take it anymore. I'm cutting ties with you. The moment I yelled, I heard the doorbell ring. Standing there was a man I recognized. My name is Emily. I'm 22 and about to graduate from college. I must say, I have a strong sense of justice, and I'm very patient. Ever since I was a child, I've been diligently and earnestly devoted to my studies. I've maintained pretty good grades and have dreams I want to fulfill. I'm satisfied with my daily life. But I also have a big worry. That is,
"Emily, come down here."
A loud voice came from downstairs. Reluctantly going downstairs, I found my mom, Karen, and my sister, Ashley, there. "Mom, sis, what's up?" I was studying.
Ha! Classic nerd. Still studying even though college is almost over. How diligent of you.
My sister laughed. She's a beauty like our mom, with a loud personality. She used to do some modeling in the past, but now she's unemployed under the guise of helping with housework.
"We're going shopping now. You take care of the dishes and laundry. Make sure you iron properly. Oh, and we're out of detergent, so go run some errands and buy that too."
My mom instructed me on the chores in a matter-of-fact tone. Knowing that any backtalk would ignite her fury like wildfire, I meekly replied, yes. The two of them, dressed to the nines, left the house in high spirits. I've got to do it, I muttered quietly while cleaning up the mess my mom and sister had made. My mom is a beauty who was once chosen as a candidate for a beauty pageant. She just loves anything flashy and luxurious. My mother has always adored my beautiful sister, who resembles herself, but has always ignored me. Moreover, she always dumps chores and troubles on me like I'm a maid. My sister joined in, and I've been oppressed by the two of them since I was little. Still, I've endured it because, after all, they're my blood-related family. And then, my phone rang, and the screen showed Dad. "Hello, Dad, it's been a while." I could hear the brightness in my own voice.
Emily, it's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you, Dad? It's night over there, right? How is everything?
I'd like to say I'm fine, but I've been having headaches recently. I plan to see a doctor here. How about your studies? Going well?
Dad, please take care of yourself. Thanks to you, everything's going well. I'm working hard towards my dream.
Is that so? Emily, you're always so diligent. As I always say,
be righteous and kind, right? Don't worry, I'm doing my best.
That's my Emily. I'll bring back lots of souvenirs next time I come home.
After some conversation, we hung up. To be honest, my family is wealthy. That's because my elite father, Michael, has been traveling the world for work since he was young. Although my father was often away from home, he was kind to me without favoritism, and he showered me with love whenever we met. I loved my father dearly. However, to my mother and sister, my father was like an ATM. The reality was that they lived in luxury off the money my father earned.
Emily, always be righteous and kind,
my father would say as he raised me, and his presence was a pillar of support for me. That's why I've been able to keep going until now. A few months later, right after I graduated from college,
"Emily, something's happened to your father."
My mother burst into the room, her face ashen. It seemed that my father had collapsed at the airport right after returning home and had been rushed to the hospital. Hearing this, I immediately headed to the hospital with my mother and sister. There lay my father, completely exhausted. The doctor informed us he's had a stroke. Despite all the treatments, my father hardly recovered. Specifically, he was left with severe motor paralysis and speech impairment, unable to stand or speak properly, having to care for my father, who now required constant assistance. I put my dreams on hold to focus on caregiving at home. As expected, my mother and sister virtually ignored my father, treating him as if he were useless, hardly even showing their faces, let alone helping with his care. Mom, sis, if you could help with Dad's care sometimes, I'm sure he'd be happy. Even when I spoke up, the response was always, "We're too busy. We're leaving Dad's care to you. Dad, it's nice weather today."
Emily, thank you.
I also studied caregiving. I opened the curtains so he could see outside, fed him his care meals, and arranged different flowers every day. Though I had help from caregivers, I cared for him with all my heart. My father, who had worked hard and cherished us all his life. I was desperate to do whatever I could for him. When times got tough, I remembered my father's words.
Emily, always be righteous and kind.
Remembering that, I could muster the strength to keep going. Then one day, I overheard my mother and sister whispering in the house. "Thanks to Michael's insurance money, I could buy the bag I wanted," said my mom. "It's like, thanks, Dad. Maybe I'll get myself a new wallet too," my sister chimed in. I held back the urge to yell and continued listening, only to hear my mom say something even more outrageous.
If he's gone, we'd get millions from the life insurance and inheritance. He had savings from investments besides his work.
Wow. Mom, then let's buy a luxury apartment. And my boyfriend, Kevin, can live with us too. Oh, I wish Dad would just hurry up and die.
Indeed.
I couldn't take it anymore and left the room. My father is fighting to live, and yet they talk about splurging with insurance money and buying a luxury apartment with the inheritance, wishing for him to die quickly. I felt so angry and ashamed. I thought I might vomit. In fact, my mother and sister have recently been flaunting their wealth even more, buying up designer goods and even going on overseas trips, leaving my father and me behind. But I could never tell my father, who is already going through so much, about such things. I didn't want to upset my father. I pretended not to hear my mother and sister's conversation and continued to devote myself to caring for my father. Many acquaintances and friends often visited my father to see how he was doing. They all cared deeply for my father. I particularly remember an elderly man who always wore a suit and glasses visiting frequently. I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. But he must have been an executive at my father's company or something. Whenever he saw me, he would politely greet me. I was happy to see my father so well loved, and his expression brightened on the days he had visitors. I thought those days would continue, but a few months later, my father had a recurrence of his stroke and suddenly passed away.
Dad, Dad,
I cried, clinging to my father's lifeless body, who would no longer speak. Even my mother and sister shed tears this time, mourning the loss of my father. What followed was a whirlwind of events. There were the wake and the funeral to attend to. And of course, my mother, the chief mourner, did nothing. My sister, of course, did the same. In the end, I had to handle all the arrangements by myself, running around so much I was dizzy with business. The wake ended, and the funeral saw a large turnout, with many flowers sent as well. Seeing the character and popularity of my father in his lifetime, I felt somewhat comforted. At the funeral, the sound of sobbing filled the air, and my father departed with a peaceful expression on his face. It was the evening after the first 7 days had passed. I, too, had finally begun to recover a little from my grief. while I was cleaning up after the first 7 days. My mother and sister called me to the living room. Beside my sister was a man who was said to be her fiancé. Like my sister, he was good looking, but his frivolous and arrogant nature was apparent. His seemed to be called Kevin.
You see, it's about father's inheritance.
My mother started. I had an incredibly bad feeling. My mother continued, sneering as she said something outrageous.
We're supposed to get a lot from your father's inheritance. We're going to sell this house soon and move into a luxury apartment, so you should leave too.
Mom, first of all, it's only been a week since Dad passed away. Are we really talking about the inheritance already? And a luxury apartment?
Be quiet. I've already signed the contract. It's a new high-rise apartment, you know.
You've already signed it. When did this happen?
About a month ago.
A month ago. Dad was still healthy then.
Huh? He was on his deathbed. Dad had plenty of money, so it'll work out.
My mother is just utterly selfish. My sister followed suit.
Exactly. And since Mom, I, and Kevin will be living in the luxury apartment, you'll need to find yourself some rundown apartment quickly, okay?
Even you, sis. Are you serious?
Of course. Don't even think you'll get a dime of Dad's inheritance. You're going to renounce your claim to it. You got that?
My sister approached me with a terrifying look. Beside her, her fiancé Kevin was laughing. The smiling portrait of my father caught my eye, and I felt suffocated. This is too much. To say such things even before Dad's mourning period is over, I can't believe it. You guys are the worst. I can't take it anymore. I'm cutting ties with you.
Huh? If you disown us, we'd actually be relieved.
My mother and sister said that and laughed at me. I clenched my fists and trembled. And then, the next moment, I heard the doorbell ring. Thinking it might be a visitor paying respects, I steadied my shaking breath, wiped away my tears, and opened the front door. And then,
Good evening. My condolences for your loss.
the man bowing deeply at the entrance was the middle-aged man in a suit and glasses who had often visited my father's sickbed. Thank you. Please come in, as I returned the greeting and invited him in. The man handed me his business card.
Please check this. I am Smith, the lawyer appointed by Mr. Michael.
Upon checking the business card, it was indeed from a law firm. And though I hadn't noticed before, there was a liar's badge shining on his chest. Dad's liar. As I stood there surprised, my mother, sister, and Kevin came out one after another.
What's a liar doing here?
So my mother, who looked puzzled, Mr. Smith said,
I've come to discuss the matter of the inheritance. Is now a good time?
Mr. Smith sat in the living room, with my mother in front of him, and my sister and her boyfriend beside her. I ended up sitting alone on the side, facing them. Mr. Smith took out some documents from his bag, looked around at us, and then began to speak slowly.
First, may I read the will, if that's all right?
He could hardly move or speak, and he had one of those. Just get on with it, please.
My mother said irritably.
Then, I will proceed to read it.
Mr. Smith said in a calm voice.
The will. I, Michael Thompson, hereby declare the following in my will. I bequeath all my belongings to my second daughter, Emily.
A moment of silence followed.
The testator appoints the following as the executor of the will.
My sister interrupted Mr. Smith as he continued to read.
What? Wait a minute. What did you just say?
Did you not hear me? The testator appoints the executor too.
No. The part before that.
I will read it again then. The testator bequeaths all his belongings to his second daughter, Emily.
What does that mean? That essentially means, huh?
The next to shriek was my mother.
It means that all the inheritance will go to Miss Emily.
What?
My mother and sister exclaimed in unison. I felt like my breath had stopped, and all I could do was open my eyes wide in shock.
Next, I will read the codicil to the will.
Mr. Smith continued, looking at me.
The codicil is essentially the last message left by your father.
I listened quietly.
Emily, you gave up your precious dream to care for me. Despite my always being busy with work and not being able to give you enough attention, I truly thank you. Because of you, I could pass away peacefully and fulfilled.
Tears overflowed as I heard the words my father left for me.
Emily, always be righteous and kind. I know you can do it. Your father will always be watching over you. Please be happy.
In front of me, who could only sob, my mother and sister were making a huge scene.
Wait, what does this mean? All the inheritance goes to her?
Exactly. What about our money?
Mr. Smith glanced at them and said,
There is no mention of you two. Incidentally, Emily is the sole beneficiary of the life insurance as well.
What are you talking about? Do you think that's acceptable?
My mother's face turned red, almost foaming at the mouth.
That's right. There's something called forced heirship, right? As a wife and children, we should receive something.
My sister leaned forward.
You're referring to the reserved portion. Indeed, you two have the right to claim your reserved portion of the inheritance from Emily.
Mr. Smith said calmly.
Obviously.
My mother seemed to be returning to her usual self.
Even if there is a will, if its contents are deemed unfair, it is possible to claim the inheritance as stipulated by civil law. However,
Mr. Smith continued.
Michael had us investigate how his wife, Karen, and eldest daughter, Ashley, were living luxuriously on his money and squandering the insurance money.
My mother and sister's eyes widened in astonishment.
You've purchased luxury apartments and cars and spent lavishly on clubs and overseas trips. Emily was left alone to handle caregiving and household chores. Moreover, there were statements wishing for Michael's death.
My father knew everything. He pretended not to know despite being aware.
That is.
My mother faltered, and Mr. Smith said quietly,
In this case, the distribution of the inheritance is not considered unfair, and it is unlikely that you will receive anything even if you go to court. However, if you still wish to proceed, please make your claim. I will be your opponent.
My mother's face had turned pale before I knew it.
Such nonsense.
My sister also muttered, It's ridiculous that only Emily gets it. When Mr. Smith was leaving, as I escorted him to the entrance, he said,
Emily, you are a great person. Your father always spoke of you with joy.
Is that so? My father.
I have been close with your father since we were young, and I was honored to take on this request. He mentioned that he had been too lenient with those two, but he would be relieved knowing how splendidly you have grown, Emily.
As Mr. Smith narrowed his eyes, my heart swelled, and tears welled up again.
Please be happy from now on. I will always be here to support you.
I continued to bow deeply to Mr. Smith, who left me with those words. A year later, eventually, with Mr. Smith's help, I was able to inherit all of my father's estate. As for my mother and sister, my mother, unable to repay the loans for the luxury apartment, expensive cars, and designer goods she had already committed to, apparently went bankrupt. As for my sister, once her boyfriend found out that she wouldn't be receiving any inheritance, he quickly left her. And now I've heard that she's living with my mother in an old apartment. For a while, they tried to contact me, but I kept ignoring them by saying we are strangers now. Please go through my liar. I believe that was also my father's wish. Now, there's no contact at all. As for me, I used my father's inheritance to enroll in the law school I had once given up on. Originally, I intended to become a prosecutor, honoring my father's words to always be righteous and kind. However, my dream has changed now. Through my interactions with Mr. Smith, who rescued me in my time of need and supported me thoroughly, I came to aspire to be a liar. So now, I am studying hard to become a liar. I strongly wish to become a righteous and kind liar like Mr. Smith someday.